Hello, my name's Ben, and today this is a case study on the implementation of the Building Safety Act on high-rise residential buildings. Compliance with the Building Safety Act and the associated other regulations is not a tick box exercise. It's about taking a holistic and professional view of risk mitigation. So whilst we have the regulations, it's also important for us to take an additional overview as professionals to make sure that we are mitigating risks holistically. This in doing so means that we would take a risk-based view, so eliminating risks at design stage is always preferable, and we would rely less on management and subsequent control measures because these are inherently less reliable. The first foundational principle to implement is the golden thread, because this creates the framework for the storage of the information about the design, our decision making throughout that design, and the management of the project. To illustrate this, I'm going to use this example of an external wall, which, because it's a modular build, is particularly convenient for us to see what it's made of. So this comprises traditional brickwork on the outside, a layer of concrete, two layers of insulation, another layer of concrete, and then what's not shown here is another layer of insulation, then a lightweight construction on the inside. So crudely illustrated, that is that build-up shown here. So it's an indicative area shown for balconies or terraces, which are importantly specified attachments, and the materials of those present risks. So we represent those in blue there, the windows, and then we work through into the build-up from inside to outside throughout all the materials. And this format, what personally we use is to just conveniently link the information from our common data environment so that anyone without a detailed understanding of the facade of this building can see immediately what each material is used for. So this is just a crude representation, but it's pulling information from the golden thread, which we host in a conventional common data environment. The common data environment in this instance is a site, and the data is stored in line with ISO 19650. So the principles of information storage are not particularly new, but it's absolutely key that we have integrity about the storage of that information. So if something gets superseded, it's important that we properly supersede that. So as we've just seen in the external wall matrix there, what would traditionally happen is, an architect or an engineer might produce a specification, then a trade contractor may well provide some trade contractors of proposals which might get accepted and approved, but the original specifications never updated commonly. Now, under the golden thread principles, that must change. So we can't have this instance where, after 5 years after or 10 years after the building is being built, we pull up a specification which we cannot rely on because it's been superseded by trade contractors' proposals. So under the golden thread principles, it's essential that we revisit that documentation and it's updated to provide a reliable record of what materials are in the building. If we have this reliable record, that means that we can leverage this information. So we had the external wall matrix there, and you can see here, so the on-site records, so the process that was used to install the materials with photographs and links and timelines, signatures of the relevant competent people involved. And we also host the BIM information here. This one here, fire DNA, this is a process of electronically hosting the information about each fire door and any subsequent maintenance and inspections that are carried out, so that contributes to the golden thread as well. The fire risk management system utilizes the information that's pulled from the golden thread and can potentially push information back to it as well. CAFM systems, very common in these types of buildings. So e-logbooks is an example used in this instance, where we can pull information from the golden thread, push information back. And we can also host method statements, competence management, and then behind me there, contracts as well. Now, once we can rely on this information, that opens up a whole world of things that we can use it for. So from the 23rd of January 2023, it was a legal requirement to register all buildings and the information about their external walls with the London Fire Brigade. In this instance, this building is located in London. So the information can be simply pulled from the golden thread and associated to the respective buildings. And from the 6th of April 2023, it was a legal requirement to register all high-rise buildings by the 1st of October. So this information, including the key building information, gets pulled from the golden thread and provided into this format as well. The premises information box, again, all of this information is hosted in the golden thread, so we can create a digital record of what's in the premises information box, and we can review that at least annually or when anything changes and any subsequent work. So say, for example, a supermarket closes down and another one opens in one of the developments and gets refitted out. That new fit out information can be hosted in the golden thread, and they can rely on the information that we store in the golden thread to design their fit out works. This information also plugs into any mandatory occurrence reporting system that we have. In this instance, the mandatory occurrence reporting is actually done within the A site itself, and we can utilize that same information. And the complaints, and you can see there's an app that's just behind me. Here is an app that could be used to implement the resident engagement strategy. You can pull information from the golden thread to leverage that as well. And then all of that information can then be utilized to form the building safety case. So all of this information that's required in the safety case, all of that will be in the golden thread. And the building safety case report should be relatively straightforward to compile then in that case, because all we're doing is pulling information from the golden thread and assessing it against the information itself, and cross-checking it, as well as cross-checking that with the building itself as well. In operation, we can utilize live data. Also, we can leverage our golden thread to assist with that as well. And then it's then one of the inputs within the management of the building as well. So following on from the seminar by Brian Cox, where we go into much more detail about the plan, do, check, act cycle, but in this instance we use that cycle to construct a fire risk management system. What that does is crystallizes all of the requirements that a typical residential building has to comply to, and then assesses the building as to whether those requirements are fulfilled or not. And this is done continuously on a live basis, and it resets periodically depending on the period of each operation. So you can see there's a number of developments here and along the bottom, and the number of compliance instances that have been identified. So there are weekly, there's actually even daily, weekly, monthly, and annual activities, and any denomination therein. So, say a fire alarm system needs to be maintained at least every 6 months. So that compliance parameter will reset after the 6 months and show whether that parameter has been complied with or not. This then provides an action for a non-compliance to be dealt with. So these non-compliances could be to do with fire, structure, Legionella as well. And we use the BS 9997 principle to guide us to build this system. So this one is actually hosted in a digital platform called Meridian, which is based on these compliance parameters, and we have used the information from the golden thread to build it. Now, in line with the Plan, Do, Check, Act system, the process is not always perfect on day one, so it's necessary to go through that cycle a number of times and continuously go through that cycle, I would say at least once a year, to address any lessons learned or incidents that have occurred, or regulatory changes to pick up those as well. So you can see, as compliance improves, we can. There's no such thing as 100% perfect risk management. So we can continue to review that and pick up lessons learned where they're appropriate. Building on the example given by Brian Cox of fire doors, which is important because, for example, 79% of fire doors in the industry have been demonstrated to be non-compliant, usually because of breakdown in competence at some point during the chain of the life cycle of that door's manufacture, installation, maintenance and repair. So what we've done in this instance, in this case study, we've used a system called Fire DNA, where we have been able to collate the information that's hosted in the golden thread, revalidate that information, and then populate it against the door, which is held in a digital system but linked to the actual door itself via an NFC or QR code. This allows us to keep a full track of all works that are subsequently done to that door, so we have a live display of its compliance at any one time. And if something happens to that door, like it needs to be replaced or repaired, then we can see which approved repair techniques are associated to that door, or what are the underlying parameters that the door needs to comply with. So you see that there's lots of different platforms that are necessary in order to deliver all of the functions that are necessary to manage the data on these large and complex construction projects. There's no one-stop shop, but linking the different softwares together can sometimes be done by API. Sometimes it has to be manual, but taking the information that Gateway 1, principally the fire statement, and through the process prior to Gateway 2 and during Gateway 2, and being revalidated at Gateway 3, provided we've got that information properly stored, properly controlled and hosted and accessible by the right people, it's then important to reuse that information in the management, refurbishment, future assessment and in the safety case report. And then it's then available to us to provide reporting to the government and other interested parties. What's absolutely fundamental is that information has to be robust and stand up to scrutiny, so we need to make sure that it's properly controlled and updated when it needs to be updated, and then stored in its proper format and structure so that it's accessible and meaningful to the people that need to use it in the future. So hopefully that gives you some flavour of how proper data management helps us comply with the Building Safety Act and provides a foundation for future safety management on higher risk projects.